There are so many breastfeeding accessories out there, and everyone wants to know which ones are worth it. Honestly, at the end of the day, most breastfeeding accessories are not necessary and just kind of a little luxury, but there are some that I like more than others. In this video, I'm going to dive deep into some of the most popular breastfeeding tools and accessories that you probably see on Instagram all day long to let you know what my thoughts are as a lactation consultant and mom of 3. But before we get started, if you want to see my favorite breastfeeding products and things that may make your breastfeeding journey a little bit easier, go to the link for the description in the video below to grab my free breastfeeding registry guide. Whether your baby's already here or you're still pregnant, this has a lot of things that I have personally used and recommend to my clients on a regular basis. Let's talk about one of the most popular breastfeeding products. A few years ago, I did a poll on Instagram, and this was the #1 item that moms said that they were either recommended or they were recommending to someone else. It is the Haakaa. There are a variety of different companies that create this. I think Haakaa was the original creator, and I will admit, I honestly told every single mom to get one of these. I've learned a lot since then, and it is not something that I put on my must-have list, but a lot of moms still use it. If you're not sure what it is, it's a suction pump. So it is something that you put onto your breast on the opposite side while you're feeding. A lot of people think it's just a milk catcher, but it actually is technically a pump because it can stimulate the breast. With that said, you don't want to mistake this for a pump. There are some people that are like, I don't respond to the pump, and then you find out that they're using a Haakaa, and it's really not the same thing. The issues that I have with this is that it is bulky, and sometimes it can be hard to put on your breast, and people like, baby kicks it off, and it flies over, and it's super annoying. It's like hanging out just like this, and so it's not super convenient to use. I also don't love it because I find that sometimes people accidentally induce oversupplies with these by using them for every single feed, especially when their baby's first born. They see that they're leaking milk and they're like, I don't want to lose that milk, which I totally understand. But then they end up making even more milk because when this is suctioned, it is going to stimulate the breast. I also find that some people put this on before they even feed on one side, so it ends up taking milk from the baby. As I always say, your breasts are always making milk, and so even if you use this, your baby can still get milk out, but the flow may be slower and they may not get as much milk as they need. I also find that most people don't find these very comfortable. They can be painful to put on, and the suction can be pretty intense. There are ways that you can decrease the suction, but I just find that these end up causing rings and maybe even cause more inflammation. If you're already prone to clogged ducts or mastitis, this is definitely a no-go. There are some other options though that I think can be better. First off, there are the Milkies. This is a non-suction milk collector cup. You can just put it in your bra and it will collect extra milk that you're dripping. I think this is the top option, especially if you are dealing with potential oversupply issues. If you do want something that is gonna collect a little bit more milk that does have suction though, I do like the Boontrove. I've had moms that have had really good success with this suction pump. You can adjust the suction and it's not too intense, and you can make it so it's just a milk collector. So you can just put it in your bra like that, put it over your nipple and collect the milk. Again, this is one of my favorites. I've had many moms tell me how much they enjoy this. It has a lower profile, so it's not just going to be sticking out for your baby to kick. You can put it in your bra easily. So is the Haakaa worth it? In my opinion, take it off your registry and consider getting one of these other options instead. Next, we have the Silverettes. There's a lot of debate on these, but I am on Team Silverette. I love these and I have seen them work wonders, not just with myself, but with my clients. Essentially, the idea is that this silver is healing for damaged nipples. Obviously, if you have damaged nipples, you should be working with a lactation consultant to figure out why there's damage in the first place, because it's not normal to have damage. However, I have found that these can be really effective for a lot of moms to help with pain and speed up healing. The original cups, which are from Silverette, are pretty expensive. They're around $50 for one set. There are cheaper brands that use a different type of silver. I haven't personally used those. But you can use these from the time your baby is born until you wean. I personally use these when my son got teeth. He had a tongue tie. He had pretty bad oral function, and his teeth were constantly causing damage to me. I would use these and they would heal up my nipples pretty well. So I do love these. I have heard other people say that they don't love them, that you should skip them, blah, blah, blah. But in my opinion, I find that they work well. Just one thing to keep in mind though is that you should not be putting nipple cream inside of your Silverettes. So let's talk about wearable pumps, especially mom cozy ones, because these are the most popular. They have the most options, and I feel like they're coming out with a new option every single day. Wearable pumps are all the rage just because, people don't want to be tied down to a pump. They love the idea about being able to walk around, be on the go, and even have people not even realize they're pumping. I will say that wearable pumps are wonderful for a lot of moms. You don't want to use them typically as your primary pump, especially if you're exclusively pumping, unless you have an oversupply. In that case, sometimes you can get away with it and it's not a big deal. However, for those that have typical supply or low supply, these wearable pumps are not usually going to cut it. However, they can be great for commutes, those times when you can't pump because you're just so busy or you're just overwhelmed or you're touched out, or for things like power pumping. I usually tell moms if it's a choice between not pumping and pumping with a wearable, pump with a wearable. So I find wearables can be a great option, especially just for more occasional pumping. This is the mCozy S9. They have a lot of different options. There's one called the Air that just came out that's really slim. The M5 is really popular. I also really like the Eufy S1 Pro, which has a warming feature. It's really high quality. A lot of my clients really like that pump. One thing to keep in mind with wearable pumps, though, is that generally you do need to pump for longer to get the same amount of milk as your traditional pump. This isn't the case for everyone, but I do find that this is the case for most. Another thing to keep in mind is that wearable pumps don't usually come with flange sizes that are smaller than like 21 millimeters. And so you are almost always going to have to wear an insert. Inserts do tend to decrease milk flow, and I don't find them to be as comfortable or as effective as a traditional hard plastic flange. And so that might be part of the reason why you may see less output with a wearable. However, I do think that wearable pumps are worth the hype for a lot of moms, and I hope that people keep continuing to work on them to make them better and hopefully come out with ones that have smaller flanges actually built in. Next, we have Cabo Cream. This is a cream that was developed that has cabbage and some other essential oils in it to help with engorgement, clogged ducts, and with weaning. I love this stuff. There is evidence behind cabbage leaves helping with engorgement and weaning and all of those types of things, but it can be messy and kind of not very fun to use. So I love that they've created this cream. I have used it for clients that are newly postpartum in limited doses, and I've used it for clients that are weaning and just can't get the milk supply to go down. It tends to work very well. It's not messy, and you just need to use a small amount. And so this definitely goes on my win list, especially if you are struggling with engorgement. With that said, if you are struggling with engorgement, make sure you're working with a lactation consultant to make sure you're not doing anything that's going to negatively impact your supply too much. Engorgement is normal the first 24 hours or so after birth, but after that, it can be a sign that your body is making too much milk and you need to level that down a little bit. I don't have a picture of this, but lactation cookie mixes, or just lactation cookies in general. There are so many different companies out there that have created lactation cookies, lactation mixes, lactation brownies, lactation crackers, everything like that. I will say, no, these are not necessary. If you want a cookie, eat a cookie, but it doesn't need to be a lactation cookie. Unless you like the ingredients in it and you're like, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't, but I like what these ingredients are. That's totally fine. I have a recipe I can link below. Typically they have oats and flax and chia seeds and all sorts of good ingredients like that. So I think that it can help your overall wellness, especially if they are lower sugar. But for most people, lactation cookies are probably not going to be beneficial. There's not a lot of research, but the research we do have shows that lactation cookies really aren't effective. However, if you do want some tips on how to increase your milk supply that actually work, that involve no cookies and no drinks, be sure to check out my Got Milk Supply Magic. This has simple shifts that can truly help your milk supply, especially if you're not dealing with an underlying issue that is related to your hormones. All right, next are nursing pillows. I personally use a nursing pillow with every single one of my kids, and looking back, I wish I had it, but I didn't know a lot back then. I just nursed them, and I used these because everyone else did. I have split opinions on these. I find that some moms really do benefit from them, especially when you have twins or if you just have a lot of different pain issues going on, or if you just feel really uncomfortable holding your baby. However, I find that often they get the baby up way too high and doesn't get your baby into a great position. You can use these in different ways. So like on the side like this, if you just need some arm support, you can kind of pull it out, have your baby nursing diagonally like this. You can use it for your back. You can use it to pump. I love these for bottle feeding. But in general, it's not my top tool. I usually teach moms to nurse without a nursing pillow just because it gives you more freedom. I sometimes find that people get so stuck using the nursing pillow that they feel like they can never leave their house. So I wouldn't say it's a must-have. I wouldn't say it's a never buy one of these, but it's one of those things where it's like, maybe get it and see if it's useful. Work with a lactation consultant to see if you can find a way to use it that is going to work well with your body. It's one of those things where I'm like, meh, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. Next, lactation supplements. There is definitely a place for herbs in lactation. I recommend them frequently with my low milk supply clients that I work with. However, it's not something that I think you should just prophylactically use or feel like you have to use from the start. The vast majority of moms do not need herbs in order to produce enough breast milk. And a lot of the combination herbs I don't find as effective as using a loose leaf herb or a powder or a tincture. There are situations where herbs can decrease your supply, and that can be devastating when you feel like you're trying something to increase your supply. I've worked with several moms that once we took them off herbs, they actually had their supply increase. If you are dealing with low milk supply issues, work with a lactation consultant that's familiar with herbs to make sure that you are using herbs that are right for you. But those viral ones you see on Instagram telling you that everybody needs them, it's going to give you overflowing bottles, it shows milk flying out of the bottles, things like that, I would generally avoid those unless they are specifically recommended by your lactation consultant. Next, we have the Series Chill. This is definitely worth the hype if you are a pumping mom. This is one of the first milk chillers that has been developed out there, and I think it's probably one of the best. They have a variety of colors. You can even personalize them now. They have smaller ones. It's just a great company overall, and I really feel like they are dedicated to making good products for breastfeeding moms. How it works is that there's this inner chamber that you can put your breast milk in. You can sometimes pump directly in this if your pump is compatible. You can store up to 10 ounces in this at a time, and you fill the outer chamber with ice. Then you just put this in here, and it keeps your milk so cold. It's perfect for when you're traveling, for when you're at work. It's just a great option overall. And I've seen tests done. It does stay cold and it does keep your milk safe. There are some knockoff brands, but I think that these ones are the way to go. I do have a coupon code. I will drop it in the description below, but the Series Chill is truly worth the hype. I love this product. We're getting close to the end, so hang in there. Next is Lansana TheraPearls. I love these. I recommend them to my clients all the time. You can make them hot, you can make them cold, and they work really well, and they are fairly inexpensive. I like the cold ones for if you have clogged ducts and mastitis. I usually recommend using ice for 5 minutes on, 30 minutes off throughout the day. And so that can get kind of annoying with a regular ice pack. So these are great just to put inside your bra. They can be great for increasing milk flow with the heated side, and they can just be really comfortable if you just feel like you need a little bit of comfort from heat. So yes, these are one of my top items, and I highly recommend everyone having them. Next is pumping spray. Lots of debate on this. I do think that most moms need some kind of lubricant for their pump. I have seen it do amazing things for certain moms, but you don't necessarily need to use the spray. You can use coconut oil that you rub in there. You can use nipple cream. With that said, I find that this is just more convenient. You can just spray it really quick. Your hands don't get messy, and it works really well. This is Kobu spray. That is my favorite. It's not a must-have, but I do think that this is the most convenient form of lubrication for your pump. Finally, a manual pump. I don't know if people actually talk about this that much as a must-have, but I really think they should, because this is one of my favorite items. Whether you are pumping or you are nursing from the breast, I think everyone should have a manual pump. This is great for the early days after breastfeeding, especially if you're trying to collect some colostrum and pumping is not working well. For emergencies, when you're on the run, just to help relieve a little bit of engorgement or just slow the flow a little bit if you have a fast letdown. I find manual pumps could be more effective for some moms, and they just are very convenient. This is under $30. This is the Medela pump, and it is my absolute favorite. You can just press the front like this for more of those fast sucks when you are trying to get a letdown. And then this is for those longer sucks. I would say this is one of my top items, so definitely grab one. If you want all of these links, you can grab my registry guide, which the link is below. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on all these products and what is on your must-have list. Otherwise, I will talk to you next time.